G'day viewers, my name's Graham Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists do what they do.
Well, hi folks, welcome back to Colour in Your Life. Well, we are in Morphett Vale in South Australia and we are at the studio of a lovely woman, Robin Hicks.
Hi.
Robin,
Hello,
great to be on the show. Now, when we first started talking, you actually come from a background of very creative people anyway.
Yes, I do.
Your parents were both musicians. Your dad was an opera singer.
Yeah, he was an opera singer and he taught singing as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Really cool.
It was really beautiful.
And at an early age, they basically said, you know, they realised that you had a talent at art, but you were telling me that you used to, because you're only a little child, like 18 months of age, that's really young to start painting, you used to draw people's feet.
Yeah, they love telling me the story.
Everything was around.
Start with the feet, then go to the ankles, and I travelled up to the knees eventually when I was walking. And
That's fantastic. And it went all the way through to you got instruction from other people, I mean, from 7 and then on to 15.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
When I was 15? I went into a school, well not a school, it was sort of like a passionate artists doing portraits and figure drawing, and I did that. It wasn't like tutored or anything, but I did learn from the other artists really well and I just loved it, and my father really encouraged me.
You've done a lot of workshops with some quite talented artists.
Yes.
I mean, you've been overseas to Eric Rhodes, one of Eric Rhodes' conventions as well.
Yeah, in 2018, yes.
And then doing work with Alvaro and also with Richard.
Yeah, Richard Robinson.
Yeah, incredible stuff, which is very important to be able to do. But today we're going to be doing some watercolours, and you've got a couple of stages that we're going to go through. So she's actually prepared a few pieces for us, and then obviously there's a lot of preliminary sketches that you've done, which is really important. But we'll talk about that later on. I'm going to get out a shot, and then we're going to go through with Robin to see how she does one of these pictures. So it's going to be great. All right, Robin, well, how do we go about starting this lemon masterpiece?
Well, let's hope it's a masterpiece. What I do is I first get a biggish brush, a hake, and I wet the entire background with just clear water. And as I go down like this, it's just trying to saturate the area, but not too much. So it takes a few minutes to get this balance of water correct for what I want to do. So just going around each shape.
So you're not sort of covering the whole thing, you're just doing certain areas?
Yeah, I'm not, because I want to keep, to the best of my ability, just around here, around there like that. And then I'm going to be dropping some paint through there.
Okay.
I like to be a little bit meticulous with it. Otherwise I'll end up with colours where I don't really want them to be in the first wash. I might even just do the top half, and then I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in later and come back in around the very bottom, because by the time I finish that area, that will be dry.
When you were 17, you did a graphic design diploma as well and ended up working in the entomology department at the South Australian Museum, drawing bugs.
I did.
Cool.
I know, I'd never done that before.
Yeah.
And I needed a job, and I'd finished the course, and it was, you know, graphic design. I wasn't really interested in sort of commercial. I was more into fine art really from when I was really young. And so I just sort of waltzed in there with my portfolio, and lo and behold, they employed me.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of other pictures here of past work as well.
Yeah.
Which would help in the process of getting those colours right and knowing where you want to put them.
I do refer to my practice pieces and my previous paintings that I do little, you know, prints of, so that I can work from and just think, no, how did I resolve that last time? What can I do this time? So I can try and more or less follow it, but because it's a slightly different scene, I won't be doing exactly the same.
Okay.
And anyway, with watercolour, you can't do exactly the same. So what I'm going to do now is make a decision, which is I'll have the light coming from this side and I'll be having more of the depth from this side, so I need to get into that right now.
Okay.
With the nice big brush, I'm going to drop some yellow through here, so I'll come back with some more water.
Nice subtle effect.
Yeah, I'm going to come in with a bigger brush.
And you have prepared a couple of these pieces today of the same subject.
Yes.
So that we can move through.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, the more detail you put in, the longer it takes, and there is a lot of detail in a lot of the work you do as well.
I love doing the free work, but I do quite, I wouldn't call it hyper-realism, but very, very realistic, yeah, in the other mediums especially.
A piece like the dunes, I mean, you've got some beautiful landscape work. The light and the shadow that you get, you're very, very good at that.
Oh, thanks.
And there's another piece, view over the river, and I love that with the reflections on the water, and once again, extremely well done with the light. There's that subtle shadow in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see where the sun's coming from. It's just great.
With landscape, it's light is what really it will inspire me to paint or to not paint something. Is how it's making me feel.
Yeah.
Does it move me enough to kind of warrant my attention, if you like, my creative attention? I'm working down here, slightly re-wetting it a little bit with the water's a bit tainted with the other colour, but that's all fine. Just coming around. So I might just tip that a little bit. So quite often with watercolours you can move the paint around while it's still wet. I would come in with a brush and just dab it and just decide that I would like a shape somewhere, pull it out.
There you go.
It's a really nice technique. If it's not quite the right moisture, it may not quite lift. So you just try it again.
So you're just dragging the paint out?
Yeah, just dragging it out, and it'll just, this is one layer and it'll dry eventually, then you'll come over with another layer, perhaps another colour.
Where did your love of watercolours come from? I know that you're a fan of Renoir and Turner. I mean, Turner's work with watercolours is pretty extraordinary.
Oh yeah,
as well.
his is really, you know,
skies and
I know,
just amazing.
Very inspirational. The way he worked with light and shadow, and also his subject matter was really interesting, I thought. Well, when I was 5, my dad took me to a watercolour class, and it was with a Ruth Tuck School for Children, and that's when I sort of first, you know, never had heard of watercolours or anything. I'm just thinking about what colour I'll put in here. I think I'll come back in with, I'm going to make a sort of a purple through here. I'm going to re-wet that, because you have to be mindful with watercolour what you're doing with the water when it's settling or not settling, and whether you have to make a decision fairly quickly.
And you're continuing to manoeuvre the board.
Yeah, I have to tip the board up and down. I'll just pick that up, just to make it go where I want it to go. And I'm just doing it, as you can see, just slowly, step at a time. I don't want to rush it. Okay, so this is, I'm just showing you just the beginning process of this one, but we're going to move on to, we'll let this dry, and I'm actually going to go on to one that I've already done before, and we'll finish that one up.
Excellent.
Okay, now I'm going to paint the lemons, and I'm going to paint the underpainting of the lemons and the leaves, and that's really fairly quick and simple process for the first wash. Again, this is a first wash, so it won't take too long. And with watercolours, I do a lot of wet on wet. It's what I prefer. When I do dry scenes, it tends to be more for a landscape work, but when I do fruit and flowers, I tend to work more the wet on wet.
So what type of paints do you actually use?
I use a variety. I use AS or Art Spectrum. I use Daniel Smith, because different brands have different colours in their tones, and they vary quite a lot. So yeah, so different colours for different brands. And
I saw that you were using one of Alvaro Castanet's brushes as well.
I am, yeah, I love this one. I use this for very, very wet washes. When I really, probably for a big board, and probably for the 640 gram paper that's really, really heavy. It's like card, and I use this one for that. Otherwise I generally use this one here, and that's just for the background, and then I'll use this one for the main work. I'll just come in now while this is pretty wet.
Now we're just talking about paints. We have to thank the Paintbox, Rebecca.
Yes.
Rebecca Madden for supporting you to come on to Colour in Your Life as well. And
yes.
You get all of your art supplies from them. They have
yes, I
full
do.
range of stuff down
Most of it, yeah, and it's really, really lovely up there. And
that's where you do some of the workshops that you do.
Yes, that's right. I do some for beginners and advanced watercolours, students, and some workshops and some class series for the term. And
also that you're doing some workshops, which this isn't quite unusual. You're teaching people how to paint minerals, and you've got a fascination for certain sort of minerals, and we've got a picture here called citron, and then there's another one called fluoridite.
I mean, I love minerals. They're fascinating with the cuts and the angles of the light, the way it hits it, and it's really, really interesting. But when I come to paint it, again, I'll sort of probably try a wet on wet approach, which is, you're painting and you're just dropping the colour in, and it will just merge around, because minerals are all very variation in their colour levels. Yeah, I really enjoy doing that, and my love of minerals really started when I worked at the museum, which is when I started drawing them for the students there, the workshops.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's great that you refer back to your past studies as well.
Yes.
Helps you understand where you're sort of moving forward. Going past is moving forward.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I think everything, in life you can draw from any part of your life experience. You can draw something from, almost any part of your life. You can use it in the present, Now I'm just going to lift a little bit out here for the highlight on the lemon. Just make sure I don't forget that. And then I'm going to work on this main lemon here for now. And I'm going to just drop in some, I think I'll use this blue. Yes, this is ultramarine blue. And I'm just going to just pop that in around where the lemon itself was quite green in the shadow. And so that'll mix together really beautifully and create a lovely effect of blending colour. And then lemons always have dimples and things. So just pop that in. This is just the first layer, so it's very, very light. I do quite a lot of layering, as I said before.
Now, apart from the watercolours, you're very much a master of your landscapes in oils as well.
Yes.
And, you've got a piece here called Kangarilla Sunset, and the colours in that are just spot on. They're just perfect.
Thank you. I love watercolours, oils, pastel. They've all got their really beautiful qualities.
Bit of a master of all. Now the other one called Lake Gardner out in the Gawer Ranges. That's just a great picture. I mean, you can see the light and the intensity with the shadows.
It was a really beautiful area, very inspiring place.
All right, well, you've got some great farm pieces here as well. And there's one called Farm Ruins at Sellex. It's an old broken down farm. You see a lot of that when you travel around Australia as well. And then Farm Beauty down at Riverton. Beautiful pieces of work. I can remember rummaging around in old farms like that when I was a kid.
Yeah. Love the country life, it's just so beautiful. Okay, so what I'm doing now is just still working wet on wet. I'm going into the leaf and the lemon more or less at the similar timing, so that they will blend at a sort of a similar, so that I've got the same amount of water. And I'm just dropping colour in really, and hoping it does its best to mix, that a little bit bright, that one, that it will mix on the paper. And it's a really, really nice technique. See how it's going green there? It's really, really lovely.
And you actually work closely with your darling son.
I do.
Daniel.
Yes.
And he's a Sydney-based jeweller, very, very talented guy. And you're sort of doing watercolours and gems, and you actually give workshops in those as well.
Yes, that's right. In how to first draw a gem and then how to paint it in watercolour. That's through his venue, if you like, and also some exhibition space that he's got. Now I'm going to put some more warmth in. Whoops, a little bit too warm there, but I'll just pick up some orange. That's quite a bright orange, but I just want to make sure I keep this beautiful variation of colour that you do get. Maybe not too much down there because it's shadow on this side. I'm going to come back in again with some blue, and you get a reflected light around this side, so I probably won't go right to the edge. So then to create a bit of texture, I'll come in with a sponge. And you can do one of two things. You can, it's still very mild in tone, still not very bright in colour, I mean, but you can do it this way and just lift it as you go.
Mm-hmm.
And also you can pick up, might just mix up some yellow over here, just pick up a bit stronger.
Just use it with a sponge.
Yeah, it just is really nice to give some texture. So I'm just working on this one lemon, one at a time, because you know, sometimes if I'll do the underpainting with all of them, which is what I've already done, but then you really have to just focus on each one, and I'll probably wait for that one to dry just around through here before I work on the next one really thoroughly, even though they are wet in wet.
All right, Robin, well, it looks like you're making some great progress there, but we might let you work for a little while.
Okay, thanks, great, I'll do that. Okay, I've just come to a point that I would say would be about halfway, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring in, just do the branch and the other leaf, and then I'm going to, at a later point, I'll come back in and give more detail to the lemons and to actually probably some of the background as well.
Beautiful. Now we've also got to thank some other folks for helping you get on to colour in your life, and that's the Atelier Crafers. Ros Cameron, that's where you exhibit and you teach art classes down there as well. They're really very supportive of you.
Really good, yes.
And the clipboard stationers as well, that actually help with a lot of your supplies also.
Yeah, very good suppliers for me, locally.
And you're also doing workshops with your lovely son Daniel Cap at his business called Object Maker. And if you want to do some of those workshops with Robin, you go to her website, robinhicks.com.au, and then you can come along and do some stuff with both Daniel and Robin at his establishment as well.
I'm not painting wet on wet now, I'm going straight into the colour for the little blossom that hasn't become blossom yet. So I'm just coming directly, I don't want to do wet on wet there because I want that to be a very more defined and intense colour. So I have to be a little careful, it's a little bit wet there.
Now you've also done a lot of travelling as well, and you do workshops overseas with other artists. You've done a workshop with Richard Robinson in Spain, which is a brilliant landscape artist, but you've been to Italy, Thailand, Germany, Portugal, France, Ireland, UK, studying basically art as you've gone along.
Yeah, and just learning and enjoying learning from other people.
And in the process with all that learning, you've won some great awards as well, got some great accolades along the way, so congratulations for that too.
Thank you.
So Robin, tell me, what inspires you most of all when you paint?
Well, usually what makes me want to paint is, you know, the colour, the shapes and whatever is in front of me. Maybe it's outside or indoors, it doesn't really matter. And then when I actually come to paint it, I want it to be something that makes people feel connected. You know, they feel a connection one way or another to the painting or to the scene, and they don't just think, oh, that's a really nice painting, but I want them to feel something and probably, hopefully, feel good. And so the reason I've chosen to do a little scene on lemons and a still life is because my lemon tree was suffering for a long time and it wasn't growing and I couldn't work out why. So I just sort of went out there and just paid some attention to it, watered it a little bit more, and then I've had an abundance of lemons, so I thought, you know.
Wonderful.
Great. I'll just do a nice
Plants
painting.
feel love as well.
Hey?
Plants feel love as well.
Yeah, they do.
And you also do some wonderful portraits as well, and you've got a picture just off to your right entitled Zachariah, who is a friend of yours. Great piece as well, really, really well done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really loved painting that painting of Zachariah. He's a wonderful young man, wonderful musician.
Yes. And you've also got a picture there entitled Vow of an Elderly Lady. What's that about?
The painting of Val is, she modelled for me because I submitted that work into the Characters of the Fluorio Art Prize, and she was a wonderful lady I met, and she offered to model for me for that, and that one won a prize too.
Yes, you're a multi-talented artist. You cover all gamuts of the art world.
I do. I like a lot of different mediums and approaches.
And as I said earlier, Robin has prepared another great piece, almost finished, so let's get that one up.
Okay, let's. Okay, so we're now at the point where I'm going to put some highlights on and a little more detail, but just with this white gouache. So I'm just going to use my reference photo and just touch some in here.
Brings it right up, doesn't it?
Yes.
The source of light is always very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite often I'll just try to remember to use the negative space and leave it white, but it's okay to use some gouache.
Just got some pieces that I'd like to bring up before we finish, and one of them is Sunlit Sands. It's a beautiful piece of work down in the ocean, and the other one is On the Way to Uluru. Bit of a story on that one, isn't there?
Oh yeah. Went up to Uluru and just on a bus trip, and I just got out and had a walk around and saw this beautiful sand dune, and had to get out, photograph it, and then I worked from the photo to paint that one.
Yeah, and I can see you use the end of that brush to actually make the shapes for you sometimes by pushing it in so it separates itself.
Yes, I do, and also I do this quite a lot, and just is that what you mean?
Daubing it.
Yeah, and this is good. Yep, I think that's getting close to amount that I'd want to put on, just a small amount.
Right, well done.
Yeah.
Well, Robert, we've had an absolutely fabulous day in your studio with you today.
Yeah,
You're a very talented lady with some interesting stories and an interesting life, and your work is just beautiful, but thanks for having us in the studio.
Thanks very much. Really enjoyed it.
Well, fantastic day, Robin. Thank you so much for having us in your studio. Your work is just amazing. Landscapes and then painting the lemon was wonderful. But you also want to thank some people for today.
Yes, I do. I'd like to thank the Paintbox up in Hahndorf for their support and sponsorship, and also for the support from Atelier Crafers.
That's wonderful. Now, your workshops as well, if you want people to come along and be part and parcel of what you're doing, particularly the gem ones, I think that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic.
Be great. They can contact Robin at robinhicks.com.au.
That's right.
And then go along from there. As always, come and see us in colourinylife.com.au as well. Got lots of great things going on there. And subscribe on our YouTube channel, and also come to our Facebook channel. But from South Australia, we're going to keep moving on. We've had a great time down here. It's been wonderful. But until we see you guys again, remember, make sure you put some colour in your life. We'll see you next time, guys.
Bye.
Bye now.